Well, very good morning to you everyone. It's a Saturday morning. I'm at Ducati on your bike, Aylesbury. It's quite a big morning for me actually because I'm test riding something a little bit special. And that is the brand new for 2019 Diavel 1260S. And that's the bike. Unbelievable. Just look at this absolute beast. So this is the new for 2019. I think it's the third generation of the Diavel. When Ducati designed this, they were trying to achieve a hybrid of a sports bike, a naked street fighter, and a cruiser. And this is what they've come up with. It's an absolutely astonishing looking thing. Massive air ducts at the front, as you can see. Which give it a really unique look. Quite a big tank as well. And if I could just come round to the back, the tyre at the back is enormous. It's 240 mil. Absolutely massive thing. Seemingly it provides incredible handling, so we will see if that's the case in a moment when I go out on the road. Just a couple of sort of highlights. So the engine is 1262cc Testastretta DVT. DVT is Ducati's variable valve timing, and that apparently gives it a very linear torque curve and allows what is this huge V-twin engine to provide quite a kind of smooth response when in town, sort of urban riding, stopping and starting, where you might assume a twin would be a little bit lumpy, but apparently that's not the case with this one. 159 brake horsepower, 129 newton meters or 95 foot-pounds of torque. I think that's delivered at 7,500 revs, but as I say, it's apparently quite a smooth torque curve, linear torque curve. Öhlins shocks front and rear, Brembo M50 calipers on the front, and that's 4 pots and 2 pot Brembos on the back. Not 100% sure if there's anything else I particularly want to mention. Let's come around this side, have a little look. What an amazing LED lights throughout, so not only LED running lights but headlights, tail lights and indicators, all LED. Amazing. Three riding modes, so urban, touring and sport. I've got this in touring, which is full power but a slightly different program for the ABS and the traction control. Not sure there's anything else I can mention at the moment, but I will if I think of it while I'm riding. Oh, look at this thing. I will come back to some of the detail as it comes to me. So I'm going to put my helmet on now, get on the bike and go for a ride. So I will catch you in a moment. Oh my God. So first thing I would say is that this is a very upright seating position, reminiscent of my street twin in terms of my leg positions. My knees are at probably a 90-degree angle. And similarly my arms are reasonably high. I would imagine it's a very comfortable bike for long journeys because the seat is beautifully soft. Whoa, me. This is, wow, instant torque. very, very loud. The exhausts, they do have silencers in, as you would imagine. For a large bike, and I think it's 244 kilos wet, so you know there's a fair amount of weight. Once you're moving, it doesn't seem like there's any weight there at all. It's incredible. Also, it's aside from the seat being very comfortable, it's also quite low. It's 780mm seat height. So for anyone, I've got a, you know, I'm not tall. For anyone who struggles with some of the larger bikes in terms of accessibility, this is a very easy bike to get on, to maneuver. I can flat foot it, you know, really easily. So I would imagine that for most people, this is going to be ergonomically, you know, pretty sound. Oh, that noise. So I guess I'm going to try and find a mix of riding now. There's some nice open roads here. I guess it would also be good to ride it in a little bit of traffic. But I don't think I'm going to be filtering or anything, that's for sure. Sun's out, so it's a slightly nicer day than it looked like it was going to be when I came up here, that's for sure. Oh, the power, just ridiculous. The way that it delivers this, well, up to 159 brake horsepower. I think it makes that at something like 9,500 revs. Peak torque, as I say, is 129 Newton meters. That's at 7,500. Oh, what a bike. Haven't tested the brakes yet. I haven't ridden a bike before with the Brembo M50 calipers. So you're talking about superbike standard braking. And I imagine that it's going to be pretty good. Quite a strange sensation leaning into a corner with that massive tyre at the back. It does feel very stable, and there's no question of needing to sort of fight it in any way, or of it not going where you want it to go. But it does feel a little bit different to what I'm used to. So this is I think it's the third generation of the Diavel. I understand they've built a new chassis for this version. The frame is a tubular steel trellis frame with the engine acting as a stressed member of the frame. I don't know that anything else has been totally redesigned for this version, but I have to say it's incredibly comfortable to ride, and although it looks like an absolute beast when you're walking around it, feels very manageable when you're sitting on it, which I suppose is all that matters. And particularly for someone like me who hasn't been back to biking for very long, it sort of looks intimidating, but it doesn't feel intimidating. In fact, it feels like it's a bike that I could happily own, and perhaps I will. Who knows? Oh my God, it's very powerful. You can just feel the power sitting there waiting to be used. This is, I'm the first person to test this bike. It's brand new and the tyres aren't yet scrubbed in, so I shan't be taking any liberties. And I'll be riding it fairly carefully. But what I want to do is just, I've already kind of proven to myself, without going very far, that on the open road it's a beast, but I really do want to ride it in traffic. Not necessarily filtering, but just to see how smooth the engine is when you're sort of stopping and starting. Apparently it really is very smooth. It certainly doesn't feel snatchy or anything at the moment, but I'm used to riding a triple, and so a twin cylinder engine of this size, you know, theoretically it should be quite challenging in sort of stop-start urban environments. And I don't have it in urban mode, I have it in touring mode, as I said, so it's the full 159 brake horsepower available. But let's see how we get on. That bus wasn't waiting for anybody. I am already sensing that I'm getting looks from both car drivers and pedestrians as this absolute beast of a motorcycle comes to their attention. You can't really fail to hear the sound because it's very, very loud indeed. But looks-wise, it's just not like anything else I've ever seen. So I guess it's quite understandable that people would take notice of it as it's purring, I don't know if that's the word, past them. Not 100% sure where I'm going here, but I suspect I want to come out of that lane and stay on the A41. So I have about 45 minutes available, which probably means I'll go down the A41 for a little bit and then turn back. Well, I've been just momentarily in traffic, a couple of roundabouts. Handling is absolutely wonderful. In fact, I've only been on the bike for about 15 minutes, but I can tell you that this is a bike that I could ride happily. The only thing I would say is that on my street triple, so I'm in second gear doing about 30 miles an hour, the triple seems really comfortable doing that. I could do that all day and wouldn't think anything of it. Whereas this bike is like a caged tiger. I'm doing this at the moment, and it's saying it's telling me it wants me to open the throttle and just give it a bit more oomph. It's quite interesting. That sound. I just love the sound of this engine, and on the overrun it sort of pops and gurgles a bit, which I absolutely adore. I've taken my earplugs out for this ride so I can actually hear it properly. I think I'm going to turn round and go back on the open road. I think it's too much of a waste not to do that, and considering that I have effectively used it now in traffic, I feel justified in coming out of the traffic now. Sod that. I want to feel some of this power. So there's a petrol station up ahead. I'll turn there if I can't turn before. Interesting little screen. I wouldn't say that it's earth-shattering. 3.5-inch TFT. Yeah, I guess it tells you what you need to know. There's a fuel gauge on it. Tachymeter, obviously one or two other things, including a temperature gauge. But I wouldn't say it's the best screen I've ever seen. It's functional. Bars are quite swept back actually, and I find them very comfortable. I'm not sure how someone a lot larger than me would get on with them. I'm going to turn into this petrol station. But as I say, for me, they're not a problem at all. A bit more filtering here actually. Don't want to sit in traffic the whole time. Instant power. The moment you open that throttle, it's just there. Gonna hit a little bit more traffic here, but don't want to go off in the right hand lane because I think that becomes a right hand turn. But I'm not really too bothered because I'll be able to open her up a little bit shortly. There's a nice stretch I think of about 4 or 5 miles where I should be able to pick up a little bit of speed. back en route. Wow, it's loud, especially with no earplugs. Not unpleasantly loud, in fact, it's not unpleasant like my triple with the baffle out of the Yoshimura exhaust was. That's why I had to put the baffle back. This is loud, but in a good way, if that makes sense. The only thing I would say in terms of a criticism, I've been hovering over the rear brake, and obviously as I'm coming to a stop or going very slowly, I've been using the brake. It doesn't seem very effective. I'm going to mention that to Mike at On Your Bike in Aylesbury. By the way, big thanks to On Your Bike in Aylesbury. Mike is, I think, the sales manager there. Big thanks to him for letting me test the bike. But I'll mention when I get back that for a 2-pot Brembo caliper, I would have expected a more responsive sort of stop when I use that back brake. I'm not saying it's ineffective, but I certainly wouldn't call it effective. So something to think about, I guess. Quite an incredible sensation on this bike, actually, because I've never ridden anything this powerful. First bike I bought when I came back to biking was only 54 brake horsepower. Well, I was just testing, by the way, the quick shifter, which I forgot that I had. I'm not used to having a quick shifter. So the auto blipper was it just worked perfectly. So it's up and down shift. Let's give it another go. Oh my God, I'm having to hold on for dear life. Good Lord. Just a massive amount of torque. More than I've ever experienced before, but quite thrilling. I can imagine that owning this bike would be quite challenging in terms of keeping your license clean. Anyway, going back to the quick shifter, the auto blipper on downshift worked perfectly. This bike, by the way, is the S model. Sells for a tad under £20,000, so it's not cheap. It basically, I won't list them all, it has every option available from Ducati, bar the anti-theft system. So if you were looking at the standard version, which is the Diavel 1260, but not the S, you'd only need to up-spec with 1 or 2 options, and you're probably in a position by then where it makes financial sense to go for the S, which, as I say, has everything, including a really good quick shifter. Got Bosch cornering ABS, by the way, on each wheel, and Ducati's Evo traction control. very, very well spec'd. I said earlier, O-lins, fully adjustable O-lins on both the front and rear. Single-sided swing arm on the rear, by the way. This massive 240mm tyre, which it really does feel, I mean, slowing down almost to a stop at lights and in traffic, the bike feels incredibly stable. It's 120mm on the front. It's got the full sort of Ducati safety system, which I won't list. I do have some notes in my pocket, but I don't want to bore anyone with them now. So this is the S model, which, as I say, has pretty much every option. And if I was going to go for one, by the time I'd spent almost 17,000, I would probably try to convince myself that I should be spending 3,000 more. I doubt I'd take that much convincing, actually. So this is Waddesdon. We came here on the ride out a couple of weeks ago to 94 Coffee Shop, which was a beautiful little place. And I know that we're only about 5 minutes away now, so that's good. Tiny bit snatchy, but then I have it in touring mode as opposed to urban mode. And I have read in reviews that there's a big difference once you come out of urban and you put it into touring or sport in terms of the responsiveness of the throttle, which is, there's 94 Coffee Shop, by the way, which is immediate. And I suspect that if I was riding in London, I would put it in urban. But certainly the reviews are correct when they say that this engine is very smooth. At all speeds and in all conditions. And it's certainly the case that the torque curve is very linear. There's just immediate torque throughout the, well, I haven't gone too high up the band because I haven't really had a chance to. We know the power's there because peak torque is delivered at, I think, 7,500 revs, but even down low at sort of 3,000, absolutely wonderful. And you certainly couldn't want for more, in terms of power delivery, you couldn't want for a more immediate response. So as an all-round bike, I'm not going to call it a cruiser, because it's more than a cruiser, but as an all-round bike, I think this is amazing. It does whatever you would want a cruiser to do, but it's capable of delivering a ride that would, you know, put a lot of sports bikes to shame. So having tested this, albeit not for very long, but I'm so comfortable on it, and now I've been on it for 30-40 minutes, I feel so used to it, that I do see one of these in my future. Not this year, but next year. And I think it's now quashed my yearnings for the R9T completely, because given the choice of the two, this is the bike that I would undoubtedly go for. Absolutely wonderful machine. What a bike. Oh. Well, I was testing it to know whether it was worth spending the next 9 months planning. My God.
Awesome.
It's just a monster.
Yeah. I was speaking to the old boy. That's a demo, is it?
Yeah. I think I'm the first one to test it, and he came out the workshop yesterday.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to buy one of these.
Sold.
Sold.